Oh, hello, and welcome to Dente Rigamortis. I'm Review Cultist.
And I'm Dr.Leviathan.
And we're here to discuss those internet stories most creepy and most pasta. Tonight we've got a special one. Since it's September, I thought, hey, Review Cultist, why not do an SCP Foundation series of reports? Because it's September, and September starts with S, like SCP. So I decided to do that.
Really? That's why you put me through this?
Yes, that is why. I decided to make it September, SCP
Not gonna lie,
September.
Cultist. Right now, I'm a little bit pissed with you.
I tried to do a gimmick, okay? See, we are doing SCP-173 and 87. So, CreepyPasta...
087?
087, sorry.
Zeros aren't placeholders, sir. They're put there so you see them, not so that you ignore them.
So we're doing SCP-173 and SCP-087.
Thank you.
Okay. This, oh boy, this is going to be a good one.
Also, thank you for saying 0 instead of O.
Yeah. CreepyPasta started as stories that were told over across the internet, like just copied and pasted. It got turned into a slang called copypasta, and then the scary ones got turned into creepypasta. SCP Foundation started as a creepypasta and then became its own tier of those kind of stories. And SCP stands for Secure, Contain, Protect. They do those things in regards to essentially creepypasta or just mysterious or enigmatic entities or objects. So like cursed objects or sentient objects or just things that we can't explain. On the back burner, it's essentially somebody sees a really cool, creepy image and they decide to make that an object or a creature or something for the SCP Foundation. And then they write up a little dossier and bureaucratic report kind of thing of it on how to contain it and whatnot. And then they usually have some documents that chronicle like an account of it or an encounter with it. So SCP-173, also known as the Sculpture, was the first one. It was an image of a very creepy, large-headed statue with really weird, like painted face, and like if you just Google SCP-173 and you'll see the image. You'll know it when you see it, and it was posted on the CreepyPasta website. It was on the wikis. It was posted on the 4chan for a long time, and then somebody decided, and then somebody wrote the story, the little report of it. And then decided to make a foundation, and then a bunch of people got together afterward and decided to make a community of writers to write different creepy objects and creatures for this. So SCP-173 is a Euclid class, which, according to the SCP Foundation, is an object classified as having behavior that cannot be unerringly predicted, either because the item is sentient, it behaves outside current scientific knowledge, or its nature is simply poorly understood at present. The containment procedures for it are that it's to be locked in a container. If any personnel need to go into the container, there must be 3 of them, and 2 of them must always be reporting which one is blinking, because the creature in question, or the entity in question, is, I think the word is has quantum movement, where like you have to, if you're not looking at it, it can move around, but as soon as it's seen by somebody, it can't move.
It's a boo.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that was actually my first like descriptory for it. And it's inspired a bunch, like this entity has actually inspired like things from pop culture, like the Weeping Angels from Doctor Who, and some later stuff. but and so yeah, like if you don't look at it and you're in the room with it, you're gonna die because it will move up towards you very hostile with great hostility and snap your neck or strangle you. But if you're looking at it, you're fine. But you can't blink because it can get you within the time it takes you to blink. So, and we've already described it. Essentially, it's apparently made of concrete and rebar with traces of Krylon brand spray paint on it. It apparently draws blood and feces because the chamber has to be cleaned bi-weekly of those substances. And reports show that there have been they can hear movement when SCP-173 is not being seen. So it's an interesting little creature. I thought it was creepy when I first heard about it. I thought there was more of a story or more another document or like an account or something like that on the wiki, but there's nothing. So it's really just that description. But it did expand into a whole foundation, fictionalized and whatnot, of course, for other things to come after it. And so that's really all we have for SCP-173. I don't know, Leviathan. What do you think about this entity as a creature or as a thing?
Well, it's kind of boring.
Yeah.
Honestly, oh my god, it's a statue. So?
It's a statue that can kill you when you blink. Or if you blink, or if you're not looking at it.
Uh-huh. So... jackhammer? Sledgehammer? Various types of hammer?
You think they would have tried to it's have two guys looking at it at all times, and then just have another guy just start going at it with sledge. Yeah, you'd think they'd do something, or just put some C4 on it, and then.
Well, C4 is a little harder to get your hands on.
This is
everyone can buy a sledgehammer.
That's true. This is true. I guess they try to I guess they just make you assume you're going to think that it's indestructible because they haven't killed it yet or destroyed it yet. But that is an assumption.
Exactly. An assumption is the mother of all fuck-ups.
Yeah. Yeah. So
it's also the image that accompanies this one is it's disturbing, but not for the reasons that you want it to be. Because to me, it looks like really bad. I'm sorry, does that statue kind of not look like really bad My Little Pony cosplay?
Oh god, I cannot see it. Damn it.
Now that I say it, you see it. So, and here's the thing, it's not like I'm some sort of brony, where that's the first thing I see whenever I see anything. But, yeah, I was looking at it while you were going over, and I was like, wow, it kind of looks like a My Little Pony without the mane or tail. Son of a bitch.
Wow.
So, on top of just being completely, I honestly don't understand even the things in pop culture like the Weeping Angels from Doctor Who. I'm not a big Doctor Who, actually I'm not a Doctor Who fan at all, I don't watch it, but I'm aware of their existence, and I'm like, why are these things terrifying? Why is everyone,
creeped out by them?
Yeah.
I think it's just because...
Oh my god! It moves, as long as I don't look at it. Well, doesn't that just make it a fucking statue then?
I think it might play on, the, that... I don't know, maybe that, subconscious fear of, being chased. Because you never know what's... if it's, when it's behind... if you're looking away from it and you're trying to get away from it because it's going to come get you.
Okay.
I guess maybe it plays off that. I'm just speculating there. That's why people get creeped out by it, and when they read the description and stuff like that freaks them out, because a lot of people read these stories and stuff like that and come up with them. I mean, there's hundreds of entries.
And I'm not gonna tell you you're wrong, because honestly, that's better than anything I've come up with. Because, yeah, I just don't...
You don't understand it? Or understand what
I don't
the
understand
appeal
what
is?
the fascination is.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Like, I get it, it's a thing, but it's one of those things that has just exploded with popularity.
Yeah.
Just in general. And, you know, like, we all have those things that explode with popularity that we just don't understand why. This is one of mine.
Okay.
That's all it is. So,
all right.
I'm not saying that this is, you know, like, it's like last week's episode, The Story. I can't fault it. Everyone else seems to like it.
It's just...
So...
Yeah, it didn't appeal to you.
Yeah, so with this, I don't get it.
Okay.
I don't, you know, like, I don't understand why everyone finds these things horrifying. But everyone does, or at the very least, they seem to be, you know, everyone likes them. Everyone likes them in their bit. You know, everyone else seems to think that adding this into something is like adding milk to cereal. It just makes it better. And I'm sitting here eating my cereal dry, wondering what everyone else is making it all soggy for.
Fair enough. And I'm sure you're not alone. I mean, like, but...
that's exactly. I mean, there's going to be people from both schools, and we just happen to have one from each
for this game,
right
for this
now.
podcast. Yeah.
So, I think that's kind of appropriate.
Yes.
Is there anything, you know, there's nothing glaringly wrong with it, although, you know, I'm wondering if we may have a similar thing with Jeff the Killer, and no, I'm not going to go crazy on that. But remember Jeff the Killer, they, you know, just, like, explained how he looks like he does with bad science. I'm assuming that the entry here exists because of the image.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, no, that's how these SCPs usually end up. Although not all the time, it's just more, sometimes it's a concept or a photo or something. Yeah.
I'm just assuming that the picture existed, someone wrote the article.
Yeah.
You know how I'm assuming?
Actually,
no. Do you know how I'm assuming? Is that... Because you usually do a lot more research than I do.
Yeah, pretty well. The photo is actually the creature itself, or the statue, is actually an art piece from I believe the bottom of the thing. There's actually a license.
Yeah, regardless.
But yeah, it is actually an art piece that somebody did, and then somebody thought the picture was disturbing and creepy, and decided to make the entity, and then posted on sites online, and then it got popular because of that, and then the SCP Foundation got created.
Okay, so the picture existed first, is what you're telling me? Okay.
Yes.
When they explain whatever the hell is on the floor.
Yeah.
That's how I knew. They went a little too far.
Okay.
If they hadn't have explained it, I would have just been like, oh, it's been here a long time, and they can't get in to properly clean because it's just safer to stay out of the room. So, you know, they scrub it up as best they can, but, you know, huge blood stains.
Yeah.
Because, you know, it's destroying people.
Yeah.
That was my assumption.
Okay.
But then they explained it, and they explained it with, oh, apparently it just randomly bleeds and shits.
I did think the bleeding thing was real. I thought the fecal thing is actually just added another another aspect of creepiness, because this thing is like, it's technically alive when it's not being seen, and so it's moving. It's acting like a living creature, but it's a statue. It just freaked me out a little bit. I don't. Maybe it's because the uncanny valley kind of thing.
But you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it just randomly bleeds and shits itself.
Yeah.
That's basically what they say.
Yeah.
And that kind of took me right the hell out. Like, I was just like...
Saying that now, it does kind of, but like when I read it, I was like, okay, that's kind of creepy.
Well, yeah, and they don't say it like I say it.
Yeah.
But, you know, okay. It's actually, and this is the part that really gets me, it's the last thing. that they write.
Yeah.
So, when I have nothing else to read, they leave me with this, why did you put that there? And then I look at the picture and I see, oh, okay, it's part of the image. And I'm like, this image existed first, didn't it, guys? Also, this is something that comes from the image again. I've got to question the, intelligence, in storing something like this in a room that obviously has windows.
Yeah. Well, this may not be a picture of it from its containment. You know, this is maybe where they found it.
I hear you, but still.
Yeah, actually, you're not wrong, because I saw that, I noticed that yesterday when I was reading these again, rereading this one. I was like, why are there windows in that? That sounds like a horrible idea.
Because, I mean, if you see this thing and then stop seeing it,
it's
kills
gonna come
you.
at you. Yeah.
And I'm guessing glass is a poor deterrent.
Yeah.
I
don't, unless that's bulletproof and that somehow is, but I doubt it.
But
I really do.
It's still breakable.
Yeah.
And, I mean, so's concrete, technically. The problem there is that you can't see through concrete. So it should be okay.
You don't have to worry about it seeing you as well as you seeing it.
Exactly.
Because I'm assuming that's how that works, is that you see it, and then it's assumed that thing, because you've seen it for the first time, it knows of your presence, and then if you look away, it's going after you.
Or whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
I will say this one does kind of, doesn't try and tell you everything about where it came from or how it exists, and that's, you know,
they leave it like we don't know where it came from.
Leaving it to the imagination, but yeah, I get you. It does kind of look, it looks like art.
Yeah, and that's what it was originally.
I know people at home can't see my air quotes, but they're there. I'm sorry, that looks like horrible, stupid.
Fine art.
That looks
sculpture.
That looks like it looks like someone making fun of art, and everyone else thinking it's awesome, amazing. Oh, it's so deep, artistic.
Okay.
As the audience may be able to tell at this point, I have very little respect for art of this manner.
Yes. Okay. So that's the original entry that started the SCP Foundation. We'll move on to 87, since I thought that one... Yes. 087.
087.
Sorry, 087. This one's another Euclid class object. It's essentially... Its other name is the Never-Ending Staircase. It is located at a campus of Redacted. The doorway leading to the SCP-087 is constructed from reinforced steel and electro-release lock mechanism. It has been disguised to resemble a janitorial closet consistent with the design of the building. The lock mechanism on the doorknob will not release unless, redacted, bolts are applied in conjunction with a counterclockwise rotation of a key. The inside door is lined with 6 centimeters of industrial foam padding. Due to the results of the final exploration, one of the 3 explorations that apparently were done for this entity, no personnel are permitted access to SCP-087. So yeah, 087 is essentially a unlit platform staircase that there does not seem to be an end to. No matter how like it goes, you can go down like hundreds of flights of stairs, and it completely disregards the normal laws of physics, I guess, and like the topography and structure of the building it's in. It's essentially a TARDIS, to go back to a Doctor Who theme with this, apparently.
Well, no, because it's just a stairwell.
Yeah, but it's a pocket dimension within this campus.
Theoretically, or it's just a really deep stairwell.
Yeah. To go, apparently, the deepest anybody's gone is about 1.8 kilometers down these stairs. Now,
I'm not saying it's likely.
Yeah. Now, the creepy thing about this entity is that, or I don't know, the creepy thing they try to proponent in this is that it's a dark staircase. Nobody knows if there's an end or not. A very powerful flashlight only shines so far, no matter how bright or how powerful you have a flashlight. It only has a certain amount of yield into the darkness. Each staircase going down to the platforms is about 13 steps, and on occasion apparently after you start walking down the first flight of stairs, you start noticing a little girl or a young boy's crying and like pleading for help. And it sounds like they're about 200 meters below you, but no matter how far you walk down these stairs, you're always roughly 200 meters below this or above this child. The other thing is SCP-087-1, which is a pale face without pupils, nose, or mouth that just apparently causes intense fear and panic in anybody who looks on it. And they're not sure if it's because if it's a side effect of the entity or if it's just something, just a natural reaction to
something that just pops out of nowhere.
It just pops out of the darkness. Yeah. Now, yeah. Okay, so they do explain the expedition. Or they do. What the word is it? They do include in the little synopses of this story or this report. There were 3 exploration accounts. The first one, the guy who's a white male, apparently was actually a former agent of SCP Foundation until something happened. Goes down the flights of stairs with a camera with a video feed to a control room where a doctor, redacted, is there. He's got an audio feed. He's got a 75 watt flashlight, which apparently just is the maximum you can use because anything more powerful gives you the same result. So he is told to walk down these stairs. So he starts walking down the stairs.
Sorry. His actually was more powerful than it would allow inside.
Yeah.
Because
yeah, exactly. Like he shined.
I remember reading that he's like, "Oh, this flashlight's shit," and they're like, "Shine it down the normal hall," and he's like, "Oh, it's fine. Oh, it's shit again." Yeah.
So it's just the overall like dark mirth or whatever, like whatever's the presence or whatever's in the in this corridor or in this stairwell is causing light to be diminished. So he goes down the first flight of stairs, starts hearing the girl's voice, reports it in. The doctor says to keep going. So he goes down about 50 flights, and that's when he encounters a 087-1, which is the face. It's just staring at him. Nothing's really happening. He's asked to move closer. He doesn't want to. It moves closer. He panics, freaks out, runs up the full length of the 51 staircase, and blacks out because he just ran up the 51 staircases, or 51 staircases, or flights, and got fatigued. And then that's the end of Exploration 1. Exploration 2, it's a black male.
So wait, did he live?
We don't know. It doesn't really mention that.
Seems like
that's what I was looking. Yeah, I was actually I was looking like at the bottom. It's like, wait, so did he die or did he get pulled out? I guess he got pulled out. Like that's my assumption, but it doesn't really mention it. So,
but we've already gone over this. Assumption is the mother of all fuck-ups.
True.
And yes, I enjoy saying that. So if you give me the opportunity, I will
say it. Okay. The second subject D. Also, D subjects, or they're essentially they're test subjects. They are usually criminals or somebody with a criminal record that is expendable. And so they're the ones that go into these containers or containment units or whatever to deal with the entities for test subjects or for testing and stuff.
And this information is not...
and I mean,
it's
that's
not,
one thing, it isn't...
It does not head any of these articles or anything like that.
No, so unless you actually go the trouble and actually go into their introductory thing, that's really all you're going to get.
Yeah, this is not something that you do casually, and that's part of my problem with the whole website, is that they want you to...
know this already?
Yeah, and I mean, well, it's a good idea for you to know this beforehand, but it doesn't really set you up to find out.
Yeah, I noticed that as well.
It's just kind of, it's all there, I'm sure of it, but I can't really find it. And that's probably a little bit of an issue in general that I would say, but...
If anything, if they were to, fix up the site, maybe have, on their main page, an introductory onto what SCP Foundation is or something like that, or make it a little bit more user-friendly for that kind of thing.
Well, yeah, just,
At the same time, this also sounds like, the more I'm thinking on it, SCP is kind of more of a hardcore version of CreepyPasta, because you're supposed to know about some of the stuff already. So it's not really much for... It's I mean, the stories are interesting, or the entities, some of the concepts and entities they come up with are really interesting and creepy, but you kind of need to...
Well, yeah, but I read these last night, and I didn't find out what a Subject D was until today, and I was like...
That would have been helpful, kind of.
Yeah, it would have been helpful, because otherwise these people are just,
poor schmucks.
Gross. Well, these, the people running the Foundation are, I was under the assumption that they were grossly, just irresponsible.
Yeah.
Now it's okay, now you're just irresponsible, because you're still throwing life away, but hey, whatever, that's your shtick.
Yeah.
I don't have to live with that.
The Foundation just perceives them as expendable because they're essentially criminals that they're using for this thing. So, anyways,
that's fine, but it still doesn't justify throwing or risking their lives. Anyway.
Yeah, I know, but this Foundation doesn't appear to have much of a moral high point.
Neither do I.
It's true.
I exist as a moral gray area, but.
Yeah.
Even I wouldn't just, hoity-toity, risk life for no real reason. Hey, walk down a stairwell. Why? Because
of a previous conversation
because of things. Yeah, because
we had an arrangement.
Because
so the second episode or expedition, the guy goes in with a backpack full of adhesive wall lights. That you just have to press the button, press the center of it, and it lights up. And he's instructed to go down each flight of stairs, and at each platform, pop one of these onto the wall and make sure it works. And he does so, and he goes down to about the 51st flight with not much of a problem aside from the usual creepiness, like the little girl pleading for help and stuff. Gets down to the 51st flight. And notices that there's deep slash marks in the walls, and the first step down is practically destroyed or rubble. So he mentions this back. They report in, and then he's told to go back, keep going down. And so he goes down. I can't recall the exact number after this point, but goes down a fair amount of fair amount of flights of stairs, and that's when he encounters 087-1. And of course, he's instructed to get closer to it, and he doesn't want to. And then he just at some point just kind of just freaks out, starts running up the flights of stairs, gets to I think the 17th floor or platform, and drops because he gets fatigued. And he's there for 14 minutes, and then there's some weird sounds that are heard. And then he gets up and runs the rest of the way, and gets out of the room, where he then curls up into a ball and is later reported as being still being catatonic. from the incident. So that's the end of that guy. The third one is the longest one. They give this woman a bunch of nutritional bars, a bunch of water, and a thermal blanket, and she's told to go down as far as she can. So she goes down. First thing she notices on the first platform that she goes down is that the lights have been removed. There's sticky parts on it, but they've been removed. On the 17th flight, she reports in that there's a weird substance, smells like rusty metal and pee on the base of the at that point of the where the original or the previous guy fell and unconscious. So that's reported in. She's told to keep going. Gets down, like 100 or more flights before the camera feed apparently like jostles and she like starts swearing because there's this giant hole in the middle of her way that she almost fell into, and it's just black and bottomless. However, there's a brief light that is shined from down there, and then it cuts out. And she reports this in. They ask her if she can jump down there. It's like, no, it's like got to be kilometers down. It's really deep. I can't see anything in the darkness. So she is told to proceed further. So she proceeds going down. She gets down like 200 or 300 flights of stairs at this point. She's apparently like a kilometer and more than a kilometer and a half down into the since ground level. So. She's kind of getting nervous. She wants to go back. She decides that she's going to, to hell with this, I'm going back. Turns around. 087-1 is right there behind her. She freaks out. There's just a huge slur of panicked swearing and whatnot. And she's descending descending again into the depths of this place. At some point, and every time she looks back, the face is still there, but it's a little bit closer, like a couple more centimeters closer. So she gets all the way down to she gets down to a certain point. She trips, falls, and is on the ground. And at this point, we get the view of the face again through the feed, but it's not staring at the subject. It's staring at the camera, giving the illusion that it's actually staring at the person that's looking through the camera on the other back at control. So, and that's kind of where that one ends, is that we don't know, we never learn the fate of subject 34, I think? I don't know. That's the other thing about, that's actually one thing that me and Dr. Leviathan can agree on with this, is that the subject Ds have a really, like, they use numbers to give them classifications for the stories. Half the time, and they're long numbers, like D dash.
It's a letter, a dash, and then 4 digits,
yeah,
and then sometimes more.
Yeah, I would usually
tedious.
Yeah, when I was reading these, even I was just kind of like cutting it down to the last 2 digits, just to keep the flow going in my head. So, anyways, we never learn the fate of that person, and it just really ends with the face of -1 staring through the camera, and then the video feed and audio crackle out, and that's the end of the report.
Yeah, I think that's a problem with all of these explorations, is that they just kind of abruptly end. Like, we don't know the fate of the second one.
Oh, we know the second one is in a catatonic state as of like.
Sorry, the first one.
Yeah, the first one. Yeah.
You don't find out like
we don't know if he.
They don't tell you whether or not he lived or died.
Yeah,
and that's a mistake. So the second one, yeah, they solve that and they tell you whether or not. And then this one, again, you're left to assume
that she's still down there, or like how, and like they just recovered the audio or in the video through the feed. But who knows? Like maybe they did send another team down to recover her. But
unlikely. But
yeah,
you know what I mean. Like
it's a very seedy organization from what it seems. Like they don't do a whole lot. There's a lot of data expunged, redacted, and that's to try and give it a little bit more ambiguity, to try and amp up a little bit more of the suspense of what's going on.
Yes, but they don't finish their little expedition reports. At least in this instance,
yeah,
like 2 out of 3 of them bam, it's just over.
Yeah.
There's no, like, an official document like that for pretty much anything would have ended with the end fate of,
like, at the very least,
Subject D9884.
Yeah.
They would have said,
missing in action, or KIA.
Yeah, they would have been, like, assumed, MIA, assumed dead because,
from what they
haven't come out of the freaking stairwell that only goes, in one direction.
Yeah. Actually, I'd be interested to see, like, because they never mentioned that like, I guess, like, they... I always thought it was that there was a second level. They just never went up. They always went down. So I'd be wondering if I guess, like, maybe I'm just thinking, maybe I'm just overthinking and thinking that it's just a staircase that starts going down and doesn't have it going up.
That was honestly what I imagined.
Okay. See, for some reason, I guess, again, because they use images as their main source, I looked at the one and I kind of thought that was the ground level. I didn't, and then now I'm thinking of it. No, that wouldn't be the ground level. That would be either 51st or whenever they encountered the entity, because they never encountered the entity at ground level. That's what. Yeah, see what I'm thinking. That's what my problem is, that I was. Yeah,
I don't know.
Okay.
It you know what I mean. I'm just
because
if there was an up, well, there's got to be an upward limit,
Unless there isn't, and then that's just also kind of baffling.
But they don't talk about it. They only talk about going down.
So
I assume
it must
you can't go up, or that if you can, going up, you reach the normal floors.
Yeah, exactly. So it has an upward.
But then again, how would they secure that?
Exactly.
So.
So my guess is,
in other words, it must be only going down.
All right. Until told otherwise, no assumptions.
Exactly.
All right.
And honestly, that kind of ambiguity doesn't really matter, because you make an assumption one way or the other, and you carry on with the story. But, like, just, I don't know, if they had ended the little explorations, it might have been a little bit better. Yeah.
Even just to add, like, that little line of, like, subject, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, just a footnote.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? Like, you don't need much.
Like they did with the second one.
Yeah.
Where they said, like, he is currently still in catatonic coma, in a catatonic state, since his episode. So...
It would have given you that sense of finality and, like, okay, it's over.
Yeah. Now, honestly, one thing I would say, what I would like to have seen at the end of Exploratory Expedition thing 3 was what was the status of the doctor, because he was the one looking through the video feed when the entity was staring at him or at the viewer of the of the video feed, because apparently, like, that's what thing, like, when the entity was staring or appeared for that test subject, it wasn't looking at her, it was looking at the camera the whole time, or we get that assumption. Or we get that, like, they mentioned it in there.
Yeah, but I think you're confusing your monsters here. This is not the statue.
No, it isn't. But I would like to see, like, I would like to have maybe gotten, like, another little footnote at the end, what the doctor had to say about having the entity looking through the camera.
Yes, but they say nothing.
Mm-hmm. So maybe
that means nothing happened.
Okay.
Because unless they say something happens, it doesn't happen.
Right, because no assumption.
Well... You know what I mean? Like, there's letting, people's imagination run wild, which that did it for you, but you're going to get a different result every time with every person, because I'm not going to come up with that. Yeah. You know what I got from that? I was like, oh, okay, moving on.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Like, these are supposed to be official reports, and they're not thorough at all. Like, these people are just...
They're just writers. Like, they're not...
No, they're not. In reality, they are.
Yeah.
But this foundation
journal. Yeah,
has the shittiest reports. Yeah. They just don't, they don't cover important details. They
are dealing with entities that they can't explain, though.
But they don't give pertinent information. Like fates of test subjects.
Yeah, that would have been handy. Like, they just kind of, like...
How would the Russian sleep... I mean, you liked that going into it.
Yeah.
How much could you have possibly liked that if they'd just been like, we gave them the gas...
That's it?
Yeah.
Okay, fair enough, yeah. And they didn't tell you exactly what happened to them.
I mean, okay, that's an extreme example.
Really extreme, yeah.
Yeah, that's taking the flaws here and blowing it up to an completely unbelievable level.
Mm-hmm.
But it's the same problem. They're not they're not giving you all the information that they imply, like, they bring up.
Yeah.
Like, they bring up the test subject.
Yeah.
And they tell you what happened. They follow that test subject for the whole thing.
And then they never tell you...
But then they never tell you what happens to them.
Yeah. Okay.
You hear what I'm saying? That's kind of annoying. It's an
incomplete report.
Exactly. And it's glaringly incomplete. Like, that would be the most important information on this thing.
Yeah, like...
Because...
Did they recover her? Did she make it back up? Is she missing in action right now?
They would have at least speculated.
Yeah, exactly.
And there's none of it.
Yeah, subject is currently missing in action, presumed dead.
Exactly, but they don't even have that.
Yeah.
You know? So, that really is just, like, glaringly. And I'm not saying that, like, I've read 2 entries here.
Yeah. The top rated ones, but...
Yeah.
Yeah, I know.
But...
I know, we've had a history with that.
Top rated just means that everyone likes it. Doesn't mean it's good.
Fair
enough. And honestly, for entertainment value, they're fine.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not looking at it purely for entertainment value. I'm looking at it for these podcasts, so I need something to talk about. So I have to, I have to find its...
You're finding a lot of...
I have to find its weaknesses,
mm-hmm.
and once I find them, I've got to tear through them.
And you've done that.
It's a skill. Yeah. But, yeah, for entertainment value, I mean, I don't find anything terrifying about a staircase. I don't think I'm an inhuman monster incapable of feelings for not finding anything about...
Absolutely not.
087 is boring to me.
Mm-hmm.
Boring as all hell.
I think what a lot of these try to do is they somebody comes up with a concept or looks at an image that is mildly creepy and decides and says that they can come up with something, or they have like the inspiration to come up with a creepy little thing for it. I like the concepts of SCP, but I mean they don't. And when I was reading the reports, I was genuinely like, I was reading them last night, mind you, in a dark room and just the glow of my laptop. So I was just like reading through them, and I was like genuinely getting creeped out, and I wanted to keep reading more. Like I was engaged with the documents. So I guess they appeal to me a lot, like in like a great deal. I don't know, like it's just.
It's like an episode of X-Files without the awesome exchanges between Scully and Mulder.
Yeah.
And I can see the appeal, but I watch X-Files because I really enjoy that character interaction.
Yeah.
This has, the Monster of the Week.
Yeah.
Without the interaction. And...
and that's
it takes some of the charm away. You know what I mean? Like, I love Monster of the Week.
But you want the character development as well.
Well,
of the victims or survivors or whoever's with the monsters.
No, because that would be asking more from this website than this website has ever promised.
Yeah.
This website does not promise that.
It really just promises Monsters of the Week.
Exactly. So I'm not faulting it for it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just saying me and this website want 2 different things.
Yeah.
And again, that's not a fault. That's just, that's the way it is.
Yeah.
So, again, I'm not very much like Out in the Woods or whatever it was we read last week. Yep. I can't be hard on it because it's just not what I want.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I
like, these are really... They're really cool little entries. Mm-hmm. I honestly think that if we read a creepypasta and there's an entry for whatever's in the pasta that we...
Yep.
You know what I mean? Like, it would be a really cool add-on.
Yeah. But
on its own, I just want a little bit more.
Okay.
You know what?
Yeah, no, I get what you're saying. Like, you want a little bit more of... Okay, is it safe for me to say traditional narrative? Or, like, literary narrative rather than report narrative? Or journalistic narrative? Because that's kind of what these are. Like, they're journalistic or, like reporting narrative. Whereas, like, the creepypastas are more like a storytelling narrative.
If I was in... Like, on the odd time, like, on the rare occasion when I get in the mood for something like this, I could burn through hundreds in a day.
Yeah.
Because I would just spend all day reading through them.
Mm-hmm.
But it doesn't happen very often.
Yeah.
Whereas with the creepypasta, I can, even if I'm not in the mood to do it, I can always, you know, like, say I've got the deadline for the podcast coming up and I haven't read the story yet. I can always hammer it out and read it and... Well, I don't always enjoy it, but that's usually not my fault.
Yeah.
But, you know what I mean? Like, I can always read it and enjoy it as a story. These, you know, I'm probably gonna come back to this website probably a lot.
Okay.
But in fits and starts.
Yeah.
Not in, you know, not as like... Oh, I'm going to read 5 a day. I can't do that.
Exactly, yeah. So, like, and you were saying earlier about, like, if there's a creepypasta, I might actually, like, not immediately, like, not next week or anything like that, but, like, down the road, I might look into seeing if there's a creepypasta that follows up into an entry. Because there are. Like, I think there is actually one for Slender Man. Because I think he's been mentioned in this thing, or at least an entity very similar to him is in this. In one of the documents, but there's other ones too. Like like so, I think a zombie plague is technically a classification, an SCP entity.
Well, this, I mean, they've clearly got
it does
a
range
whole
from
bunch,
like the horrific, the usual suspect stuff to just like the fantastical. Sometimes it's not even really like a creepy thing. It's just kind of really weird entity, and those are the ones that are like the harmless classifications. Like they're classified or they're contained, but you don't need protection from them. They're just really fucked up.
Mm-hmm. It's
so it's something we'll probably explore a little bit further in the future, but not anytime immediately. So again, I kind of wanted to do an SCP thing because it did spawn from creepypasta. It's September. I wanted there to be a little bit of a gimmick there, so that's why I did that, or why I proposed this one for this week.
Yeah.
So you would recommend? Oh, now here's where it comes down to it. Would you recommend SCP for anybody who's trying to read creepypasta and whatnot, or
not necessarily,
more under the things that you were saying earlier, where it was
basically what I'll say. Is if you want my recommendation, you have to want to read a report about a monster, not a story.
Yeah.
And then, if that's what you would rather have than a story, check out the SCP website. If you would rather a story to go along like with your monster, and maybe not so much clinical information, then read your creepypastas.
Yeah.
It's a matter of apples and oranges, you know. You're not in the mood for both. Right? Yeah. And if you are, fuck it, make a fruit salad.
Exactly.
It's, you know what I mean? They're two completely different things.
It's recommended, but if you like clinical report kind of, or procedural, like, story report things, versus... like creepypasta stories, which are just like campfire stories and stuff like that.
Yeah, do you want one or do you want the other?
Yeah.
That's really all there is. There's, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's not horrible. I'm assuming that they, clean up their details eventually as things go on, like, give all of the details in most of them.
Yeah. At least from what I've read.
But then again, I'm also under the assumption that that this is like a pet project. These are not...
Yeah, these are again, it's a community of writers that just, and it's a wiki site, so they can go back in and edit their work and stuff like that as well. So.
Okay, well, what they should do is go back in and put down the fates of all of their test subjects in every single case file. Because every time I read them and there isn't a fate of the test subject, without it being clearly obvious, then it's going to piss me off every damn time.
Fair enough.
So that's Dr. Leviathan's personal request from the people who have written these. If you've written these and if you've included a test subject and his fate is ambiguous for whatever reason,
at least
remember that this is a report. There's going to at least be an assumption made about his fate.
Yeah.
So don't be ambiguous in a report.
Yeah.
Because that's what these are. So ambiguity should be out the window. Mm-hmm. That, like I say, that's my personal request.
Yeah.
And other than that, it's fine. Mm-hmm. It's not my thing most of the time, but it's fine.
Okay. So, a generally positive recommendation.
Well, neutral.
Yeah. Well, neutral for you. I'd recommend it as long as you know what you're getting. As long as you're into the kind of that kind of reporting or reports of monsters and not really much into conversational story and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Like we had mentioned.
If you enjoy court transcripts, you'll love these things.
Yeah. And there is indeed a market out there for that kind of stuff, for transcripts. But anywho, so, yeah, that's our general take on that. So, really, that's all I kind of wanted to get down for that. Anything else you want to share?
No, I think we've covered it all.
Okay. So, that will be tonight's episode.
All right, good night, everybody.
Yeah. We're on YouTube. We're also on iTunes, so you can check it out. Dente Rigamortis, just type that in. If you like what you've heard, if you have anything that you'd like to talk to us about or send us any messages, suggestions as well. We are always up for some suggestions on what we should read next and discuss on the show. You can check that. You can just comment that anywhere where there's a comment where these podcasts are posted. YouTube, iTunes, on iTunes if you'd like to review the show. Tell us what we're doing wrong. Tell us what we're doing right. Kind of stuff. Every little bit helps. Also, you can email us at aldenterigamortis@gmail.com. That's aldenterigamortis@gmail.com. And I have been your host, Review Cultist.
And I'm Dr. Leviathan.
And this has been Dente Rigamortis. Sleep well.